Dr. Kepler's hands trembled as he adjusted his glasses, staring at the holographic display floating before him. 300 years of humanity's greatest linguistic minds had failed to crack this code. The Zarathi transmission had been humanity's first contact with alien intelligence, discovered buried in an asteroid that had drifted through the solar system in 2387. Since then, it had become the most studied artifact in human history, and the most frustrating. "Another dead end," muttered Professor Chen, the head of the xenolinguistics department at Mars University. She gestured at the towering walls of the research facility, covered floor to ceiling with attempts at translation, mathematical models, frequency analyses, pattern recognition algorithms. All had yielded nothing but elegant failures. The transmission itself was hauntingly beautiful, a series of crystalline tones that seemed to follow some deeper pattern, accompanied by shifting, geometric shapes that pulsed with an almost musical rhythm. Every expert agreed it was clearly intelligent communication, but the meaning remained locked away. That's when Jake Morrison walked in. He wasn't supposed to be there. Jake was a janitor, a high school dropout who cleaned the research facilities at night. But something about the alien patterns had caught his attention during his rounds. Night after night, he'd found himself pausing to stare at the displays, feeling an odd familiarity he couldn't explain. "Excuse me," Jake said quietly, approaching Dr. Kepler's workstation. "I know I'm not supposed to interrupt, but I've been watching this for months and I think—" "Security!" Professor Chen snapped. "How did maintenance personnel get clearance for this level?" "Wait." Dr. Kepler held up a hand. There was something in the young man's eyes. Not the glazed confusion of a curious bystander, but the sharp focus of recognition. "What did you want to say?" Jake swallowed nervously. "It's not a language at all, it's music." The room fell silent. Professor Chen's face flushed red. "Young man, we've explored every possible—" "No, you don't understand." Jake pressed on, his confidence growing. "Look at these patterns. You've been trying to decode them like words, like mathematics, like programming. But what if they're not trying to communicate facts? What if they're trying to communicate feelings?" Dr. Kepler frowned. "Elaborate." Jake moved closer to the display, his eyes tracking the flowing shapes. "I play guitar. Been in bands since I was 15. He pointed at the geometric patterns. "This is chord progression. And these tones, they're harmonies. The Zarathi aren't speaking to us, they're singing to us." Professor Chen scoffed. "That's ridiculous. We've run audio analysis." "Wrong kind of audio analysis," Jake interrupted, pulling out his battered smartphone. "You analyzed it like speech patterns, but what if you analyze it like this?" He opened a guitar tuning app and held it near the speakers. As the alien tones played, the app's display lit up with familiar note names: C major, A minor, F major, G major. A perfect IV progression. The room went dead silent. That's impossible," whispered Dr. Kepler. "The mathematical probability of an alien species developing the same harmonic relationships as human music is—" "Maybe it's not coincidence," Jake said softly. "Maybe music is universal. Maybe harmony is how intelligence talks to intelligence across the void." With shaking fingers, Dr. Kepler pulled up the full transmission and ran it through musical analysis software. Patterns emerged that had been invisible to linguistic algorithms: verse structures, choruses, bridges. The geometric shapes weren't symbols. They were sheet music, a visual representation of the sonic landscape. "My God," Professor Chen breathed, her earlier skepticism evaporating. "It's not a message, it's a song." Jake nodded. "And I think I know what they're singing about." He pulled up the pattern analysis on his phone, overlaying it with the alien transmission. The match was unmistakable, but it was the emotional content that made everyone's breath catch. The mathematical relationships spoke of longing, of vast distances, of hope, carried across impossible spans of space and time. "They're lonely," Jake whispered. "They sent this hoping someone would hear it and understand. Not the words, the feeling. They wanted to know if anyone else out there felt music the way they do. Dr. Kepler's hands flew over his holographic interface, adjusting parameters, rerunning analyses that had failed for centuries. But now, with the musical framework as a guide, patterns emerged like flowers blooming in fast forward. Emotional content mapped to specific harmonic progressions. Complex concepts expressed through key changes in tempo shifts. Within 20 minutes, they had a working translation matrix. Within an hour, they understood the message. A cosmic love song, a greeting card flung into the void by a species that believed, hoped, that somewhere among the stars, others would hear their music and know they weren't alone. As news of the breakthrough spread, Jake found himself surrounded by reporters, scientists, and government officials. The janitor who had solved humanity's greatest puzzle became an overnight sensation, but he remained focused on what mattered most. "We need to send them something back," he told the assembled crowd. "They've been waiting 300 years for someone to hear their song. The least we can do is let them know we're listening." That night, humanity's first interstellar reply began transmission, not in the sterile language of mathematics or science, but in the universal tongue that had connected two species across the cosmic dark. A simple melody that said, in harmonies that transcended words, "We hear you. You are not alone." And in the depths of space, something listened and sang back,